Hello, everyone. Make sure this is working. Welcome to Honor Your Feelings Quest. Can folks see me? Woohoo. Right. Let's try this out. My name is Carrie, and I'm super, super grateful to welcome you into Honor Your Feelings Quest. Hopefully, all things are a go. I'm just gonna do a quick little double check here as well. But we should be good to go. I think folks can tune into the chat. Um, but feel free to share that you're going on this quest. Online. We're excited to go ahead and get started. Awesome. I think it's looking good, which is fantastic. So we'll go ahead and really get started now. But my name is Carrie. Again, I am the founder of Asian Mental Health Project, and this is Honor Your Feelings Quest. This is sort of a new offering we have in collaboration with Take Action LA and the LA County Department of Mental Health. We host Honor Your Feelings Fest, and we have for the last 3 years, but we wanted to find a way to bring it to everybody, so we decided to make it virtual and accessible via YouTube. And so this is our virtual event. So thank you all for joining us for the very first time. Woohoo! All right. So this is a wellness everybody. So we decided to make it virtual and accessible via YouTube. There we go. I apologize. I am trying to get this going. We're gonna go ahead and move the slides forward. Why don't I do that? Woohoo! Does that work? There we go. Amazing. So let's do a little bit more about Honor Your Feelings Quest. Again, you want to step into this quest today. You're going to hear from a lot of really great speakers. You're going to learn how to, you're going to have a, meditation that you can pull out anytime in your back pocket. You will also hear from amazing speakers talking about how to manage your stress, working on digital wellness, as well as a wonderful art therapy session. But you're also going to hear from amazing young innovators. This year, we're hosting our very first Young Innovators Quest. And with that, we're going to have 4 incredible presenters present on their own projects, where they want to make mental health more accessible for Pan-Asian communities and beyond. And we're so excited to have them. So Here's a brief overview of the program. We're going to go ahead and get started very soon with our guided meditation. And then we're going to do Quest to Distress with Jennifer Torm. Then we have our Youth Innovation Quest with our 4 amazing presenters, as shown here on screen. And then we're going to have our Digital Wellness Guide, which is a presentation by the amazing Courtney Knowles, the Senior Media Advisor of the JED Foundation. And then we're going to have Mindful Doodles close us out. It's a stretch and a sketch with Serena O and Mikhail Louis, and we're super, super excited. So why don't we slow it down a little bit? We're going to go ahead and get started with our well, actually, sorry, we're going to introduce ourselves. We're Asian Mental Health Project. We are a nonprofit organization aimed at making mental health more accessible and approachable for the Pan-Asian community and beyond. That means all of our resources are free. We do peer-to-peer affinity groups. We do events such as this, in-person events such as Honor Your Feelings Fest tomorrow, and other sorts of satellite events that coincide with our affinity groups. We also have a mental health assistance grant, which we're super proud to have, providing micro grants to kickstart your mental health journey. And we're also working with Take Action for Mental Health, Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health. This is their ongoing mental health movement. There's tons of events throughout the month, and it's bringing these mental health resources to Californians everywhere, and we're super, super grateful to partner with them. So thank you so much for them. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and move forward into the guided meditation. So I want us to go ahead and slow it down a little bit. We're going to go ahead and take a beat. So today's meditation will be a body scan. Now, to get a little bit personal with this is the very first sort of grounding exercise that I learned personally. I'm personally a survivor of sexual violence, and I struggle with PTSD, anxiety, and depression. And so this meditation or this sort of exercise helps bring me back to myself. It's a way to feel at home in my own body when I didn't feel safe to at certain parts of my life. And so this is a body scan. This body scan script is from the VHA. And so I'll go ahead and read it off as well. This is from their integrative approach for whole health and pain and suffering. Okay, so get into a comfortable position. Feel free to sit in a chair if it feels comfortable, or you can sit on the floor. Just be in a position where you can gently relax. Allow your body, your back, your joints to be straight, but you don't have to be stiff. And if you're able to, feel free to place your feet on the ground, or I like to put my hands somewhere as well, where I can feel the earth or the world around me. You can also do this practice standing, or you can lie down and have your head supported. Your hands could also be in your lap or at your side. Feel free to allow your eyes to close or to remain open with a soft gaze. We're going to ease into this exercise by taking several long, deep, and slow breaths. Breathing in fully and exhaling slowly. Breathe in through your nose and out through your nose and mouth. Feel your stomach expand on the inhale, opening up like a balloon. Feel your stomach fall. Let go as you exhale. Let's take a couple more of those deep breaths. Inhale. Exhale. You might want to loosen up your neck, your shoulders if you feel called to, but we're going to begin to let go of the noises around you. Gently shift your attention from the outside to inside yourself. If you're feeling distracted or you're noticing sounds in the room, sensations on your body, that's all a part of this practice. Simply notice this and bring your focus back to your breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Slowly bring your attention down to your feet. Begin observing how your feet feel, noticing those sensations, maybe wiggling your toes just a little bit, feeling your toes against your socks or your shoes or just the floor. Just notice how you are without judgment. Notice how you travel your breath through the nose, into the lungs, through the abdomen, and all the way down to your feet. Then back up again through your nose and your lungs. Maybe you don't feel anything at all. That's okay too. Just allow yourself to feel the sensation of not feeling anything. And when you're ready, allow your feet to dissolve in your mind's eye and move your attention up to your ankles, calves, knees, and thighs. Observe the sensations you experience throughout this exercise and gently notice this without any judgment. And bring your mind back to noticing the sensations in your legs. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Breathe in and out from the legs. And on the next out breath, allow your legs to dissolve in your mind and move to the sensations in your lower back and pelvis, softening and releasing as you breathe in and out. Slowly move your attention up your mid back and upper back and become curious about the sensations here. You may become aware of the sensations in the muscle, temperature, or points of contact with furniture or with your bed. And with each out breath, you may let go of the tension you're carrying. And then very gently shift your focus to your stomach and all of the internal organs here. Perhaps you notice the feeling of judgment or opinions arising about these different areas of your body. I want you to inhale and exhale, gently letting these go and return to noticing your sensations. And as you continue to breathe, bring your awareness to your chest and to your heart region and just notice your heartbeat. Observe how the chest rises during the inhale and how the chest falls during the exhale, letting go of any judgments that may arise. On the next out breath, shift your focus to your hands and your fingertips, seeing if you can channel your breathing in and out of this area as if you are breathing into and out from your hands. And if your mind wanders, that's okay. Gently bring it back to the sensations in your hands. And on the next out breath, shift the focus and bring awareness up your arms. Observe the sensations or maybe lack of sensations that may be occurring there. You might notice that there's a difference between your left arm and your right arm. There's no need to judge this. Just bring that to your attention and gently let it go. As you exhale, you may experience the arms soften and release tensions. Continue to breathe and exhale to release. Now we're going to gently shift our focus to your neck, shoulder, and your throat region. This is an area where many of us hold a lot of tension. Be with the sensations here. It might be tightness, rigidity, holding. There's so much stress that may be held in these spaces, and you may notice the shoulders moving along with you as you breathe. Feel free to let go of any thoughts or stories you're telling about this area. And as you breathe, you may feel tension rolling off of your shoulders. And on the next out breath, shift your focus and direct your attention to your head, your scalp, and to your face. Observing all of the sensations occurring there, noticing the movement of air as you breathe in or out of the nostrils or mouth. And as you exhale, you might notice the softening of any tension you may be holding. Inhale in, exhale, release. I want you to gently let your attention expand out to include your entire body as a whole. Bring your awareness to the top of your head, right down to the bottom of your toes, feeling the gentle rhythm of breath as it moves through the body. Inhale and exhale. And as you imagine your entire body as a whole, I want you to envision expanding your scope even more. As your body exists on this planet, amongst community, within the trees and the ocean, within the sky, this atmosphere, we're all connected with our bodies to the wonderful world around us. Even in a world that feels very chaotic, where there's a lot going on, know that you have a home in your body and that this gentle exercise can always bring you back as you need. Imagine yourself as part of something greater, part of something huge. But just as important is your body, just as it is, deserving of love and peace just as you are. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. As we come to the end of this practice, feel free to take a full, deep breath, taking in all the energy of this practice. We're going to exhale fully and completely, as if letting all of the air come out of your mouth. And when you feel ready, open your eyes or gently return back into this space. Return your attention to this present moment, and as you become fully alert and awake, consider setting the intention that this practice of building awareness will benefit you, will care for you, and benefit everyone you come in contact with today. Thank you so much for doing this body scan exercise with me. I'll go ahead and drop this script into the chat as well, so you can always have it. And we're so grateful that you're joining us for the rest of Honor Your Feelings Quest. This script was written by Sheila Murgain, a PhD for UW, Cultivating Wellbeing, a neuroscientific approach. So go ahead and drop it in the chat here if I can. Let's see. But now we're going to gently transition into our next part of the program, which I'm extremely excited for. So I'm going to go ahead and reshare my screen. I apologize. I thought the video was going to loop, but it did not. So we're going to turn back to the screen here, and I hope folks can see it. I'm getting used to the live stream. Y'all who live stream, this is amazing. This is truly a sport. I don't know how you all do this, but I want to introduce and let in the incredible Jennifer Tarm-Saidi. She is the Director of Partnerships at Asian Mental Health Project. I will have them introduce themselves. I'm going to bring them into this room, and we are going to go on a quest to de-stress. Woohoo! Hi, Tarm. Hello, I love your beautiful background. Let me just make sure you're able to go in, and I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Um, and I'm going to give you share screen access, or I'm happy to do it as well. Does that work for you, or would you rather I share the screen for you?
I think I can go ahead and share the screen. Yeah, it looks like I have sharing access.
Fabulous. Great. I will gently leave it to you. Thank you, Tar. We adore you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much for inviting me into this space, Carrie. But yeah, hi everyone who is tuning in online. Yeah, so my name is Tarm. I use she, they pronouns. They can be used interchangeably. And I've been serving as the Director of Partnerships with Asian Mental Health Project. And at least like for me, how special it is for me to kind of be back here, just because I've been on hiatus for like, past like year, just finishing out my doctoral program, which I will be graduating next week, which is really exciting. So, if anything, this is like kind of like my homecoming and how special it is to do this during Honor Your Feelings Fest weekend. So yeah, so happy to be here and yeah, to be able to teach some things around like stress, burnout, and ways to like navigate that. Um, and yeah, for those who are tuning in, if you are someone that likes to like write or journal or kind of take notes, I do have a couple of like I do have like an exercise that I'll be guiding us through, and even sharing some like affirmations as well if folks want to like follow along from the comfort of your own home. But yeah, super excited to get into it. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Give me one second. Hey, can folks see? Oh, folks can see. Carrie, can you see?
I'm working on it. I think so. There we go. It's up. Woohoo!
Okay, we're up. We're up. Okay, sounds good. Thanks so much for confirming. Alrighty, so yeah, for those who are here, you're here to learn about stress and also how to manage and take care of the stress. So that's what we're going to do today. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. But yeah, again, if you're here, I would imagine that folks know that this is Honor Your Feelings Fest weekend. And so today is the virtual programming portion. And then Sunday, which I also believe is Mother's Day, I believe. Is yeah the actual festival itself, and so this is going to be at the Japanese American Cultural Community and Cultural Center at 244 San Pedro Street in LA. That's going to run from 12 to 6 p.m. So I have a QR code. So again, for those who are tuning in at home, and you want to register for this event, again, it's free. So please go ahead and you can scan this QR code and register. So register, tell your friends about it, bring your moms, bring your caregivers, bring everyone. Okay. We hope to see you there. Okay, so this is the layout. This is what we're going to do today. So I already kind of did an introduction, so we'll skip over that. I'm going to talk about stress and burnout. I'm going to talk a little bit about joy and the importance of joy, and then go through a joy mapping exercise, and then we'll close out. Okay. Okay, so stress and burnout. I would imagine that folks are familiar with it. And so I'm kind of hoping that what I share today will be kind of new, but also kind of a refresher, especially since stress and burnout can be talked about or used interchangeably. But it's also good to note that there's actually distinction between the two. And so, yeah, I don't know about all of you, but I feel like 2026 has been a lot. Even 2025 has been a lot. And so yeah, need I say more about this? And there's just been a lot that has been going on in, the world, not only in terms of like the socio-political climate related to like environmental injustice, attacks on reproductive justice, anti-DEI movements, foreign war, um, work stressors, school stressors, and everyday daily stressors in our lives, and even family stressors. And so, there's just a lot of things that we're all navigating and that we're all trying to survive and do our best. And really, though, all the stress that we're around can really accumulate and really impact our overall well-being. So again, I just want to name and acknowledge that, if it's been hard, for all of you, I honor that because I also know that it's been hard for me as well, and just for so many people, not only within the United States, but also globally as well. And so, again, just like from where you are, this is going to be like a moment to reflect. I have some guiding reflection questions here. But I want you all to go ahead and really think of a time or moments in your life where you felt stress and burned out. For some people, it might be really instinctual. For some people, you might have to dig into the archives. But really think about those specific moments, okay? And so, what were those specific experiences? Was it at a certain location? Was there certain people involved? What was like the level of conflict, if there was conflict? Um, and, I also want you to think about, how can you tell if you're experiencing stress or burnout? There are many ways in which, both can look kind of similar. And at the same time, depending on the person, stress and burnout can also manifest and also look differently as well. So, again, like for you, like, do they kind of feel the same? Or like what parts and what pieces do they feel maybe different for you? So again, take a moment to think about that as we continue to move through. Okay. So is it stress or is it burnout? So just to get a little bit educational. So one of the concepts that I want to talk about today is the Yerkes-Dodson law. And as you can see by this graph here, essentially, as our stress level or levels of arousal increases, technically also our performance also increases as well. But however, that according to this law, the York-Dawson law, that the stress only can be really helpful or like really productive up to a certain point. And then once it reaches a certain point, then it essentially goes down from there. Our productivity levels, our concentration abilities, our overall wellness or well-being can be compensated. And so again, like whenever there is like stress, it's okay to have stress. Stress can actually be motivating for some people. But again, if we have too much stress, then we enter into certain areas or certain arenas, which I'll kind of break down a little bit more. That can again really impact our overall well-being. And so hopefully folks can kind of see like my cursor here, but essentially, if our based on this graph here, if our arousal or if our stress levels are too low, then again, we might be in this state of like boredom. Again, it can be like not feeling intellectually stimulated. There can be like a lack of motivation in this area, right? And so again, as we become a little bit when there's a little bit more stress that is placed into our lives or our circumstances, that's when, our productivity can go up. So what I mean by that is like, for example, like deadlines, right? Like there are many people out there who can be really motivated by deadlines. And so there's a little bit of that stress to be able to like activate people to get moving, to be working towards their goals and things like that. And so however, though, if we, have too much stress, right, so over here, then we can enter into this zone right here, which can be, it really starts off into fatigue, but then it can really lead into burnout, okay, which is, very much associated with anxiety, panic, and fear. So again, as we see over here, the performance can be really low when we are in a state of burnout. And usually, when we're in a state of burnout, this is just chronic stress that we've been going through, and that hasn't necessarily been moved through our body or have been dealt with. Um, and so essentially, when it comes to stress, again, it's important to really note that just like on like a spectrum with like many things, having too much or too little of something, isn't helpful. And so essentially when it comes to stress, we want to be able to kind of stay in this zone over here, enough zone where again, we can feel challenged, we can feel alert and engaged. And again, really using that as like a source of energy to like work towards the things that we need to work towards. And essentially when we're in this zone over here, this is again, the most optimal or ideal zone. This can also be like conceptualized as like the Goldilocks zone of our nervous system. And so when we're kind of in this like kind of optimal type of zone or Goldilocks zone, we're more likely to stay focused, alert, motivated, think clearly, make better decisions, and to learn more effectively. Okay. And then the maze chance. Okay. Okay. And so just to kind of break it down a little bit even more, so I actually pulled this from the Gottman Institute. Love the Gottmans. For those who don't know, they do a lot of research, especially on like relationships and couples. And so they actually just posted this a while ago or not too long ago. And I actually thought this was like a nice kind of like depiction or a nice diagram to show kind of like the differences between stress and burnout. So, like I mentioned, there's actually symptoms or like certain states that can show up in both, right? So, one of them can be chronic overwhelm, fatigue, even emotional fatigue, feeling irritable, feeling disconnected. But again, there are different like levels of it. So, again, with stress, it's more of the feeling of like it feels too much, feeling overwhelmed, anxious, pressured, reactive. Kind of I know like I've said this to myself before, like, okay, everything just feels like a lot right now. And so really the question to ask yourself in terms of like, are you kind of in the stress state versus like burnout is, do I feel overloaded? While with burnout, again, that's like the more extreme, more chronic end when it comes to stress. And so it leads to feelings of like not enough, feeling exhausted, feeling numb, unmotivated, even feelings of hopelessness. And so a thought can be related to this is I have nothing left to give. And there can even be those kind of like that feeling of like emptiness at the same time. Okay. So again, this is like a nice diagram that folks can refer to, which is also on their Instagram for the Gottman Institute. Okay. And so I don't know about all of you, but whenever I have like learned about stress and burnout, a lot of it has been really spoken to more as like a lot more as an emotional and like a psychological like experience, especially like feeling stress or burned out in the mind of like, yeah, feeling overwhelmed. There's just a lot of thoughts, difficulties concentrating, difficulties thinking. But actually, for those who don't know, or even just like a refresher for those who do know, that stress and burnout can definitely manifest in the body. And so it's important, and especially since that, there's this concept of the mind body connection as well. So, with that, stress and burnout can affect both of those areas. And so, with that, when it comes to stress, burnout, or even trauma, it can really affect the body. And so I have this picture or this graphic of this chart here. And this is something that I really appreciate. And so this graphic indicates, common somatic responses to dysregulation, or it can even be like stress responses too. And so what I like is how, this person, I believe they're also like a therapist. So therapy with Genevieve yeah, indicated just how, stress or even trauma or even just somatic dysregulation can appear for certain body parts. So there's like respiratory, digestive, cardiovascular, sensory, skin temperature, and muscular and movement. And then just how it can show up as a couple of examples. Of course, this isn't exhaustive. But this is just like a nice like start to really get a sense of like, how does my own body react when it comes to stress and burnout? And so at least like specifically for me, I actually have quite a bit of like digestive issues when it comes to really like high stress and anxiety and even like burnout at the same time. And so, it can be things like I've experienced like nausea or like abdominal pain, like stomach pain, even like acid reflux. And so these are at least like for me in in my own body that stress really shows up in the digestive system. So, when you think about like, yourself, get curious in terms of like, maybe what areas or are there certain areas of your body that's a little bit more reactive to stress and does it show up in a certain way? Because if anything, our bodies are also like one of the first signs. If anything, our body is one of the, I guess, kind of gives us the first sign of stress and burnout as well, or even being able to assess for like a sense of safety. Because if you think about it, the largest organ on our body is our skin, and so our skin are constantly, our skin is constantly like reacting and engaging with the environment, and our body is, giving us cues, kind of like what I mentioned in terms of like the mind-body connection. And so, a lot of the times for many people that, people can feel these again physical symptoms first before it can even like get to the brain, because again, the skin is like one of the first contacts when it comes to sending these type of signals. And then sometimes it can take a little while for the brain to be able to register what's happening, or to even digest that stress or chronic burnout is happening. So when you think about yourself, again, like really be mindful and really like reflect on, how it shows up in your own body. And so now we're gonna go ahead and kind of start moving on to like, okay, we talked a little bit about stress, a little bit about burnout, but I would imagine that all of you that are here want to, yeah, have like a better sense in terms of like, what do I do about it, right? And so we're gonna essentially move into this next segment here, which is like kind of like more like how to, kind of what to do if you are experiencing again just ongoing stress or even burnout. So here are just some more self-reflection pieces. Oh, sorry. That was just, what is it? My phone. I guess my phone does not understand what's happening. So I guess I should be a little bit more clear. But yeah, so just to think about some more self-reflection questions for yourself, when thinking about, or what is the first thing that comes to mind when you think or hear about self-care? What emotion is tied to self-care for you, and what makes it challenging to engage in self-care? Okay, because again, we experience stress or burnout and we want to do something about it. And part of it is through engaging in self-care. And so, depending on people's relationship with self-care, there can be like different feelings about it. And so, whenever I've done different types of like workshops or like seminars around like self-care, I have like heard from many different types of people in terms of like some of the misconceptions of self-care. For example, like it's commodified in the sense of like, oh, like self-care, especially in the media, can be seen as like, like luxury, like bubble baths, or like traveling all the time, or like having to pay for like massages every week. Again, it kind of looks like there's like a lot of money that has to be involved with self-care. It can be viewed as like selfish. I know, like for me growing up in an Asian household, like there really is no such thing as like self-care. If anything, like self-care was viewed as like selfish, like, you should be taking care of other people. And so that was just like kind of one of the negative messages that I grew up with around like taking care of myself or like of yourself. Like it's to always be in like service of others. That self-care could be seen as like difficult, like, like it requires like a lot of time to engage in self-care. It can be viewed as like challenging, especially recognizing that, for specific people, especially with like more marginalized backgrounds, where there's a little bit less access or opportunities for like time, money, resources, that it can be, yeah, viewed as like difficult to take care of yourself when, really at the end of the day, like people are just trying to survive, get the bills paid and things like that. Again, needing money, like I mentioned seriously earlier, not enough time, or it's viewed for the weak and or overly sensitive. So again, I just want to name that, like, these are really common misperceptions or misconceptions when it comes to self-care, because actually it is really important to engage in self-care. The more that we are able to take care of ourselves, the more that we can be able to do the things that we need to do in our lives, and to be present for the people in our lives as well, or even the people that we serve. And so, something, maybe hopefully like a way to like kind of reframe this is this quote right here, by Audre Lorde, who was a feminist, was really an advocate for human rights. And so this quote here is, caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it is a self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. And so even self-care is also really tied to political activism as well, right? We have to be able to take care of ourselves, so that we can be able to feel more energized, or to have the energy, or to feel rested enough to be able to again continue the fight for justice. And so, one thing that I want to note, yeah, around stress and the connection to emotions is, stress is also an emotion. Stress and burnout is, an emotion. And so, actually, emotions have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so, I don't know about all of you, but there have been times where, I'll feel really stressed about something. And there's kind of this anticipatory stress or like worry or anxiety leading to a certain event, right? And so once the event is over, right? Okay, then I feel a little bit less stress. And at the same time, though, I'm, s- I'm so sorry that my phone is just going off, everyone. That Siri just Maybe Siri just wants to help. But even when, even when the stressor is gone, like there can still be this feeling of like the stress doesn't feel like it's over. Or if anything, I'm like feeling the next stress for like the next thing that I have to worry about. And so again, I say this example because again, really stress has to go through or move through this process from beginning and end to really be able to move through our body and our minds as well. And so this is essentially, how the body stress cycle works. And so this is really pulled from the book Burnout: The Secret of Unlocking the Stress Cycle, which was written by Emily and Amelia Nagoski. And so as you can see here, the stressor appears, right? So it's causing stress in our lives. It's whether it's a deadline, it's a meeting, it's a difficult conversation. And so when the stressor appears, then, our stress system gets activated, right? And so that's when, sometimes we can enter into the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn stage because our body is just trying to protect ourselves, to, manage the stress, to the best of its abilities, right? And so again, like I mentioned, the stressor, it gets handled, it gets disappeared. Great. But that also doesn't mean that the stress, especially like the stress hormones that are in our body, doesn't mean that it's gone or it hasn't been moved through our bodies quite yet. And so essentially, we want to transition our body into moving into a like stress response system deactivation type of mode to basically let our body know, like, we're good, it's okay. You don't have to protect me right now. We're good. So, let's kind of move into a state of, again, more of a grounded, calm, but also like alert relaxation type of state. And so, again, one of the most common ways is to be able to move through with to move through with movement. So being able to stretch, engage in like workouts, going on a walk, just really being able to move. Again, those feelings, those cortisol, stress hormones, adrenaline, like through our body. It can even be stretching. Deep breathing, spending time with others. Again, anything to really start moving our body into that more rested, grounded, but also alert state at the same time. And so, as we are doing that, our body will slowly start entering into that rest and recovery like system mode, right? And so essentially that is like where our body is, again, it is kind of like filtering out kind of the stress. And so once it does that, then the stress cycle is complete. So again, when you are thinking about stress, right, and how it looks like for you, I want you to really also focus on how do we move stress, which is also an emotion, to have it move through beginning, middle, and end, so that it completes the cycle, and to again kind of like exit out of our bodies in our way. And so, how do we complete the stress cycle? So, again, I mentioned some examples earlier, but this is also pulled from the book by Emily and Amelia Nagoski. And so, at least like from their book, there are 7 ways that folks can complete the stress response cycle. So, one of them is connecting with friends, having a belly laugh, getting creative, hugging it out, having a cry, because also within our tears, stress hormones can also come out from tears at the same time, breathing, and then moving our bodies. And so this quote here, again, I think really reiterates what I just mentioned that, like, yeah, even though like the stressor can be gone itself, the stress like hormones and the stress feelings in our bodies can still be there. So if anything, from their perspective, the stress itself will kill you faster than the stressor will, unless you do something to complete the stress response cycle. And so here are some specific self-care approaches, right? So like, what do I do about it? How does it look like? And so here are a couple of examples. Again, this isn't exhaustive. And I wouldn't say like they're necessarily the most like profound, type of like strategies, but I share all of these because, these are all pretty like easier, a little bit more accessible ways to engage in self-care that we can all do. And so sometimes we need a reminder of the basics, right? The basics and the foundations, which is, again, the basics and the foundations that we've done maybe for a long time that maybe we didn't realize that, have been ways that we have been taking care of ourselves. So the first one is self check-ins, right? Like again, checking in with the body. How does the body feel? So like for me, like I take a look at like, okay, how's my stomach feeling? How's my digestion feeling? Is there certain tensions on like my abdomen, right? Or like, do I notice like my hands or my feet feeling either really hot or really cold? And so that gives me a sense in terms of like where my body is. And its connection to like how stressed that I feel like I'm feeling. Really checking in about like your values at the same time, right? So even when things are stressful, it's like, okay, how can I like stay connected with my values so that, I take action based on the things that really matter to me. Okay. And then completing the stress cycle, like I mentioned, being able to reclaim space, routine, and boundaries. So, with this, again, really being able to take control of your environment, routine, is really grounding for a lot of people, like knowing what's going to happen next. It's able to give like a sense of control. And again, with boundaries, really being able to assess like what your capacities are, which I think also goes hand in hand with like self check-ins, right? Don't give more than what you already have, right? Um, and then connecting and moving the body, like I mentioned, shifting mindset. Yeah, like one of the things, when things can get really stressful or really hard, like I know for me, like sometimes I can notice that like I can enter into like a negative headspace. And like for me, I want to honor and name that I can totally have that type of headspace. And something that I notice is like, maybe if I'm staying in this headspace for too long and I find that it hasn't been super helpful, maybe I should shift my mindset to be a little bit different into more that's either a little bit more positive, a little bit more neutral, a little bit more nuanced, but even a little bit more gentler, especially since, like, again, stress and burnout can create. Again, mindsets that are a little bit less compassionate or like less grounding. So how can we shift our mindset that is a little bit more gentler, and that also honors our humanity at the same time? Rest. Yeah, please. I feel like we don't rest enough. Taking naps. I know I'm a nap queen. I try to nap whenever I can, which I feel like is also kind of part at the same time, but it's important to get rest so that our body is also healing. Because even through our sleep, our cells are literally healing, throughout the night. And then cultivating joy and pleasure, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And then next we have is community care approaches. Okay. And so, really, when it comes to self-care, that's just one piece, right? But also, stress and burnout, a lot of it is also really relational. It's also really interpersonal. And not only that, like as humans, we live in a society where, we're all connected as part of the collective. And so not only that, but also like community social interactions, friendships are just really healing for people at the same time. So some ways of engaging in community care is, building internal and external community. So again, if it's in your workplace or if it's in your school, being able to build a community within there. But then also being able to build community outside of those type of spaces so that you can interact with other people and to get other perspectives. Respecting boundaries and choices, right? So not only like for you to respect other people's boundaries and choices, but for other people to respect your own boundaries and choices. Asking and offering support, right? To be in service of others, to help, to give, can really make us feel good, right? But at the same time, also recognize that like, part of, giving is also honoring your own capacities at the same time. So, be really mindful of just where you are. And if you are going to, offer support, just make sure that you have the bandwidth for it so that you don't overextend yourself or stress yourself more or create more burnout for yourself. Getting involved in activism, again, being able to like channel, because really stress and burnout at the same time can be seen as like a form of like energy. And so, if you feel called to it, that type of energy can be shifted into engaging in activism, because a lot of stress and burnout can also be associated with just frustration, anger towards like systemic injustice, a lack of change. And so, how can we use that energy in a way that can create movement to create change, right? And then creating joyful experiences within and outside of school, which I'll talk about a little bit more. And then, yeah, turning to people who get it, right? Like turn to the people who understand you. You don't need to be talking to people that like are judging you, that are going to criticize you, right? Like surround yourself with people who have, your best interests, or like their best interests for you. Okay. All right. So cultivating joy in the midst of hardship. Okay. So here I have a feelings chart. So another type of chart. As you can tell, I love like diagrams and circles and charts. And so, yeah, when you think about these type of things like climate crisis, trauma, political warfare or violence, forms of ism like racism, misogyny, xenophobia, global pandemic, or even loss and grief, what are some feelings that come up? Okay, so take a moment to reflect that for yourself. And so, typically when it comes to, these type of like events, something that I've heard pretty common, like in terms of the feelings that come up, it can be related to like fearful type of feelings, such as like feeling scared, nervous, horrified, insecure, even feelings of anger, enraged, irritable, jealous, disgusted, even sadness, so like hurt, shameful, lonely, grief, disappointed. So when it comes to these type of things, that a lot of times I've heard these type of emotions fall on kind of this side of the circle. And so one of the things to remember that as people and as humans is that, really we were built to, really experience the spectrum of emotions. And so while a lot of people, have mentioned, some of these feelings here in terms of fear, anger, and sadness, but within the spectrum of emotion, we have other beautiful emotions that, we get to feel. And so it's feelings like love and joy and feelings of surprise. Okay. And so as humans, and to honor our own humanity, we want to be able to experience the full spectrum of all the beautiful emotions that we get to have and that we get to feel. And so, again, when I talk about like specifically feelings of love and even joy, right? Because again, we deserve, we get to feel joy, even with everything that's going on in the world. And so, even though when I talk about like feelings of joy, right? I'm not saying that like, okay, yeah, like we should just feel happy because like that's the solution for like systemic issues, or like feelings of joy will like take away everything that's going on or take away the stress. I'm not saying that like joy is like only thinking about happy or positive thoughts, or that joy is in the absence of unhappiness, pain, and grief. Okay. And so rather than thinking about kind of these pieces over here, really, thinking it as like to be able to feel joy is to be able to reclaim autonomy. So being able to feel those feelings that we get to choose to feel feelings of joy, asserting the right to wholeness and pleasure. It's a form of emotional fuel and strength for sustained activism efforts, and it also builds community working towards a more just future. Okay. And so I have like a little nice quote here. So celebrating joy in this context affirms that we are more than the oppression we face. We embody the dreams and hopes of our ancestors, embracing the complexity of our lives. And so, yeah, joy. Yeah, joy is really healing. And so, joy is really a humanizing process in which individuals and communities heal together to cultivate joy-filled lives, feeling affirmed, whole, and thriving. And so, again, these are more of like, so there's like the self-care component. So, looking at our own dimensions of wellness, and viewing personal healing and well-being as a form of healing, right? So joy can be looked at as like a form of resilience, radical hope, empowerment, and liberation. Um, and then And then we also have collective healing and well-being as well. So again, like I mentioned, community is so important, and it's important to be in community with each other. And so some examples of engaging in collective healing and well-being that fosters joy as healing could be cultural celebrations, ceremonies, artistic expressions, transmission of cultural wisdom, and healing practices and group gatherings as well. Okay. And so give me a moment. I'm just looking at the chat. Okay. Yes. All right. So it's also important to note that joy is an act of resistance, right? So cultivating joy even in the face of stress, injustice, oppression, and grief. And so I just want to name that, really when it comes to joy, I really think about Black and Brown, queer and trans community as being, the leaders, really spearheading, this joy movement, or really setting the foundations for it. And so, one quote that I want to read here is that focusing on joy in times of pain and suffering may seem counterintuitive, but joy serves as a vital force for resilience. It transcends mere emotion, acting as an essential action that humanizes us in the face of dehumanization. For marginalized communities, particular people of color, acknowledging joy is crucial to countering historical narratives that prioritize pathology over strength. Celebrating forms of joy, such as queer joy within the LGBTQ plus communities, reinforces that joy can be a powerful catalyst for healing and empowerment. All right. So I do know we have a couple minutes left. And so I'm just going to quickly guide us, through just a joy mapping exercise. Again, folks can, where you're tuning in at, this is where you can bring out your pen and paper or colors if you're into using colors. And so I'm just going to kind of guide us through quickly in terms of what this would look like that you can do on your own anytime. And so, this is really from a self-guided, building a self-guided toolkit to help you protect and practice joy in your everyday life. And so this is actually resourced from the Build Your Personal Joy Map by the Loud community and Carrie Zhang at the Asian Mental Health Project. And so yeah. So again, we talked about the importance of body. We talked about the importance of how, again, these emotions can affect our body, right? And so, I feel like we can talk a lot around stress and how it impacts the body, but I feel like we don't really talk about how joy feels in our body. And so, wherever you are at, I want you to take a moment to reflect on where it feels in your body. Okay. So again, where does stress and burnout show up in your body? And how does it feel like? I know, like for me, like or even in the meditation that Carrie guided us through, like showing up in your neck or showing up in your shoulders, and I definitely resonated with that. And when it comes to identifying those pieces, it can be a lot easier to identify it within the context of stress. But also for this exercise, I also want you to think about, where do you feel happiness or joy in your body? What does it feel like? I know, like for me, like when I feel joy, like my body can feel like warm, like not too hot, not too cold, just warm. I can feel like my heart. And there's just like this internal warmth that I feel in my own body. So I want you to think about that for yourself. And so, when it comes to, again, also with emotions, the good thing with emotions is that we can actually activate certain types of emotions. And so, joy is also like one of them as well. And so, which can also like feel empowering. Like, hey, like if I'm not feeling joyful right now, like maybe there's something that I can do to kind of start that process of maybe activating a little bit of joy. And so, for today, or even in this moment, I want you to think about, the type of joy that you feel like you would like to activate either today, this weekend, or even this week. And there's kind of different types of joy that you can play around with. So there's like the playful joy, optimistic, powerful, creative, and loving. And so these are just like some prompts for you to think about. Okay. So what makes you feel playful? For optimism, when was it the last time that you felt hopeful? For powerful, tell us about a time where you knew what to do. If you're more of like a creative type of person, like you can draw or describe your creative flow, or even loving, to be loved is to be dot, 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 and you can fill in the blank. And then, once you think about these pieces, then you can think about like, what are just some things, some action items that you can do to help foster or to kind of increase or even activate this specific type of joy feeling that you're going for. And so, yeah, so I have a grounding practice here. And so I'm not gonna guide it through just because I want to be mindful of time, but this is all something that folks can do on their own. And especially since Carrie guided us through a nice mindfulness meditation already. So, wherever you are, whether it's sitting or standing or even laying, take a deep breath in for 4 counts. Okay. And then after you take in your inhale for 4 counts, you're going to hold your breath for 4 counts. And then after you hold your breath for 4 counts, you're going to exhale for 6 counts. Okay. And then after you do that, then you'll gently, shake out certain body parts, whether it's shaking out your hands, your feet, and your shoulders. And then you'll take one more breath and say, I am here. I am alive. And joy is welcome. And so I'm going to share two more affirmations here really quickly. So next is the permission to feel joy. This is something that you can write, you can even say aloud, or even say it to yourself. So I give myself permission to feel joy. Joy is radical. Joy is resistance, and joy is human. And you can say these affirmations however many times you would like. And then for this last affirmation, I have permission to begin again. And so, again, you can either write, say it aloud, or even say it to yourself. But life is not personal, permanent, or perfect. I am more than my situations or my circumstances or work that I'm doing. Things are constantly changing. Um, there are things that I can't control, and other times that, I breathe and I let it pass. And so, we bring us to the end here. So, thank you everyone for tuning in to this Quest to De-stress session. And so, hopefully, folks were able to, get some either new information or feel a little refreshed on different ways to manage stress or even burnout. And so, after, this seminar, this like session, I want you to think about these reflection questions for yourself. But, what reactions did you have? Are there certain information that you resonated with? What are some things that you're taking away and applying maybe even this weekend or even this week? And so this is where I end off here. So again, thank you everyone for tuning in onto YouTube. And yeah, so we have our next program. So actually next right now. So I apologize for running us a couple minutes late. But we have the Young Innovators Quest at 11 a.m. So again, thank you everyone for tuning in. And yeah, hope to see you all at the Honor Your Feelings Fest. I'll go ahead and stop sharing now.
Awesome job. That was beautiful, Tarm. Thank you so much, everybody. That was Jennifer Tarm. They are so incredible. We're so grateful to have you as our Director of Partnerships and really, really excited. And I'm super excited to implement this quest to de-stress. We love it. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna first actually introduce our guest mentors who are gonna tune in. So we have Dr. Pata Suyamoto. Hello. Let's see if that's working through. And let me see if that worked.
Hello.
Hello. How's it
Hi.
going?
Good. I'm very excited to be here. Yay.
Yay. Let me actually see if I can change the format of all this so that, oh, I don't know how to do this. Well,
What,
and then
Michelle?
Michelle, we're bringing in Michelle. Let's see if she can come on in. Um, but Dr. Suimoto, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. Sure. I'm Pata Sugimoto, and I am a co-executive director of NAPIMA, which is the National Asian American Pacific Islander Mental Health Association, and the head of NAPIAN, which is the National Asian American Pacific Islander Empowerment Network, which is a network of over 200 folks with lived experience of some kind of mental health concern. I also work for suicide prevention in Massachusetts.
Amazing. We're so grateful to have you here. What an incredible human and trailblazer for Asian mental health.
Thank
Let's
you.
go ahead and turn it over to Michelle. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. Hey, Carrie. Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Garcia. I'm the founder and director of Thriving Asians. We're an organization dedicated to uplifting Asian mental health leadership, mental health, and holistic success. And we operate youth mental health leadership programs where we get to train next generation Asian young leaders to be those peer leaders, advocates, educators, supporters out in their communities, and to make them the next generation of professionals and leaders in the mental health field. So it's always exciting to get to meet passionate young innovators. So I'm psyched to be here.
Yes, this is so incredible. I'm so stoked to have you here. You are such a force, and I've just, really, really admired your program in incubating young leaders. And speaking of young leaders, we have our incredible young innovators. Let me go ahead and show y'all this beautiful lineup right here. So for our youth innovation quest, we have Karen Lamb, we have Amanda Lee Adams, we have Nashanida So, and we have Samanyu Manjunath, and they will be giving their presentation. So let me give a brief background about how this is going to work. So we're going to let them in sort of one by one, going in the order as displayed on the screen. They're going to give around a 3-minute elevator pitch with or without a visual aid. And then they're going to have 5 minutes of feedback from our awesome guest mentors. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. Does that sound good to everyone here? Woohoo! Yay! All right, I think first up is Karen. I am going to let Karen in. Woohoo! Let's see. Hi, Karen. I don't know if we can hear you super well.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay,
perfect. I'm going to
perfect.
turn this to speaker view so it's all eyes on you there. And
Okay,
then we'll be here and you can feel free to go ahead and give your pitch. You didn't
of
have a visual
course.
aid, correct?
No.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, go ahead, Karen.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Karen Lamb, and I am the founder of Mind Over Miles. Mind Over Miles is a run club that incorporates movement, community, and mental health. I wanted to give you guys like a quick background of how this came about. Basically, 4 months ago, I was training for my first marathon, and I really like drinking matcha. So part of my training was instead of driving to a matcha place, I would run there. And I posted on social media once of me just like documenting my training journey, and a lot of people were like, "Wow, that looks really fun! Like, I want to join in." So then I hosted my first ever run. It was a matcha at a park. We ran to a matcha place together, and I wasn't thinking anything of it. I was mental health at the time because for me, running really was
I'm so sorry, Karen. I don't want to interrupt, but you have just broken up a little bit. But I want to make sure you get your full pitch, starting from the marathon. Mhm. Um, I don't think we can hear you. Can folks hear Karen? No, okay. Yes, sorry. Just want to make sure.
Sorry, guys.
It's a little bit buzzy. I don't know if there's something blocking the microphone, but no worries. Hmm. Can folks hear and see? No worries. Um, I think it is still a little bit funky, but we have time, so it's okay. Oh, there we go. That's so okay. Totally happens. I feel it. We all felt
It always
it.
happens.
Always, always. It is a-okay. I'm gonna wait a beat to sort of come back, but I don't know. Michelle and Pata, are there things that you're looking to see from these young innovators, or what are some things like what gives you hope about this next generation of change makers here?
I mean, I just am excited about all the different ideas that they seem to be bringing. Like just the titles were enough to entice me. Like, okay, like what they're gonna, what are their ideas? Yeah.
Same. I just love seeing the diversity and creativity of it all.
Mhm.
It's really cool how every single young leader can create something that's really reflective of their lived experience, their community, and we get to see all these amazing change projects happening across the country. So, yeah, I'm just psyched to hear
Mhm.
about pitches.
Me too. I know all of these ideas are so great. I love the like sort of dynamic range of them all. Some folks, we'll hear from them, not to give too many away, but there's like physical space, but also community spaces that are here. And like I think a through line for that is just providing this sort of proactive support. And I think it's so
Mhm.
awesome that these ideas are being fleshed out with folks who are thriving and, and getting started, and it's so great. Um, Karen might be breaking up, so I will get in touch with her in a little bit. But in that case, why don't we move on to Amanda Lee Adams? I will let Amanda in now. Do, do, do. Hopefully this works. We shall see. Amanda is in. Hello, Amanda.
Hello, everyone. It's great to see you.
It's great to see everyone. I'm going to go ahead and shift this to speaker view. Are you ready to give your pitch? I also think I remember you have a bit of a presentation or a slide. Do you want me to go ahead and share that?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. Give me one.
Oh, you're muted, Carrie.
Oh, sorry. Can folks see my screen? There we go. I think this is the grounding in diaspora. There we go.
All right. Thank you so much, Carrie. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Lee Adams. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm Asian American, mixed race, queer, and from the South, which is why I bring a lot of lived experience into this work. My project called Grounding in Diaspora is about proposing a land-based community mental health workshop series in Nashville, Tennessee, developed in partnership with community organizations, mental health practitioners, local growers, and farmers who are already engaged in this work. I want to begin by acknowledging that this work takes place on stolen land, specifically Turtle Island, and the Cherokee, Chickasaw, Muscogee Creek Nation, and the Yuchi homelands. And this context is foundational to how care, land access, and community systems are understood within this project. And this initiative is specifically grounded in the reality that many Asian diasporic traditions, working class, and marginalized communities here in the South, their consistent access to mental health support and community care is very limited, where care is often fragmented, under-resourced, or inaccessible. And as a result, many people build informal systems of support through relationships, shared spaces, and repeated participation over time. And I believe this project is designed in response to that gap, where it uses gardens and farms to existing infrastructures of care and these spaces that are already requiring sustained seasonal labor and ongoing participation in order to function. And because of that, they offer a practical model for consistency, shared responsibility, and also long-term engagement. And a core component of this project is collaboration with the people who are already working in these spaces, where whether it be local growers, farmers, and land stewards who are central contributors. This project is structured to support knowledge exchange, where a lot of participants, they will learn directly from these practitioners about cultivation, seasonal cycles, and land-based care practices, where each workshop follows a very consistent structure, where we begin with arrival and orientation, including consent practices and multiple pathways for participation, depending on an individual capacity for that day. So this is followed by a walking meditation and a somatic grounding practice in the garden. So participants are guided through sensory-based attention to place and body with an emphasis on presence and grounding within the space. So participants that engage in the shared labor within the garden, their roles and may vary and include planting, harvesting, tending, and observation or rest. And I think this structure is very intentional and it's supposed to be non-uniform to support accessibility and to reflect the real world models of delegation and collective work. So shared labor is often used as a framework for building relational trust and informal support networks over time. So when appropriate participants they might take home harvested food as a way of reciprocal structures of shared benefit. And the second half of the workshop is actually focused on food learning and preparation. So the project would also invite collaborators with AAPI chefs and community cooks here in Tennessee to facilitate demonstrations using ingredients that are in season and relevant to the location that we're all bringing and harvesting together. And I think this component really emphasizes food as a material practice rather than a cultural display, where connecting food systems to memory, adaptation, and lived experience are super important, where participants can share a communal meal, and there is the structure of the program's care model supporting reflection, connection, and also sustained engagement. And each session, of course, would include with like grounding and transition practices to support participation in exiting the space intentionally and also gradually, just thinking the land. And I think my role is to coordinate programming, especially facilitating structure, ensuring consistency and accessibility across sessions while working in collaboration with growers, practitioners, and partnering organizations, of course. And I believe at the core of this project, it is a community-based intervention that integrates land, food systems, and mental health practices. It is designed to build sustained, accessible, like opportunities for care that are rooted in existing community infrastructure rather than clinical systems alone. And the objective is to support long-term, repeatable engagement that strengthens relational networks, food access awareness, and community-based mental health support over time. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, welcome some feedback from the mentors.
Michelle, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure thing. Amanda, just excellent job overall. As someone who personally loves gardening, farming, cooking, this just really spoke to me, and I got really excited to see this happening. Uh, I really have to say, I really admire how much your proposal is so grounded in equity, ensuring that this is very reflective of local folks' existing strengths, resources, interests, and making sure that they consent and are the leaders that are bought in for the long term. Uh, and I have to say, too, I also just really love how you combine all these different pieces to be culturally meaningful and destigmatizing. I think across the board, when we talk about Asian mental health and like what are the strengths that come from it always has to do with food, right? And so I think you beautifully put that together of taking, bonding over food, which is so inherent to the Asian mental health experience, and coupling that with your practices of meditation, gratitude. And that's an amazing way to connect mental health and physical health, right? And to break that stigma. Because if you can get the community talking about nutrition, exercise while gardening, then you slip in the other pieces. And from there, they can work on whole health, mental health included. So I think overall, this is so incredibly community oriented, and equity focused. And it's so amazing. I can't wait to see this coming to life. Nicely
Yeah.
done.
I second what Michelle said. I think it's an amazing project. I love the fact that you can see, from gardening, taking the food and then making the meals, and like, it's uh, a process that goes over time, and that people can be part of the process in different ways and have different roles. Again, I think, again, the accessibility and the importance of building that relational trust, right? I mean, that is something, and those connections, are, and community connection allows us, to be healthier mentally speaking as well. I think, at NAPIMA, we have a program called Achieving Whole Health, Body, Mind, Spirit, which really, feels very connected to this project, where we look at whole health as mental health. So, so this too is mental health. And I think, I guess, one question I would have, just is how to weave in some of the more, the sort of mental health specific kind of, either concepts or ideas or activities. Not that it has to be like slam over the head kind of thing, but there might be an opportunity, right, to talk about whole health and pull out some of the mental health pieces to get people to talk about them in particular. Because, as we know, as a community, we don't talk about it, right? But we do talk about food, and we do talk about, gardening. We talk about and participate in these things. And I wonder whether there's ways, you know, to ask questions or whatever that like connect the dots, that allow people to think about, okay, well, maybe we need to talk about gardening and how it's helping my mental health, like specifically. But I mean, I think it's a phenomenal project. I can't wait to see what you do with it.
Amazing. Great job, Amanda. I am super excited to see this project come into fruition. Do you have any other thoughts you want to share before we close this out? Really, really great job.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for all of your feedback. I will definitely take all of that into account because I think in many ways, my favorite thing about the way I engage with this work is I really love picking on people's strengths and uplifting others, especially practitioners, farmers, or people in our community. And that's where I really see this all holistically. So I really love what your question, Pata, because I was thinking about even engaging with um there's like many practitioners in Tennessee who actually engage with the Lotus Fund,
Hmm.
specifically through the Asian Mental Health Collective.
Yes.
And I think reaching out to them, giving them more opportunities to also diversify their portfolios instead of just doing like one-on-one individual counseling, of offering more peer support opportunities, I think is really fulfilling. And in addition to that, I think there's so much wisdom within our communities. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we need to hold collectively.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
I love that. I'm so excited to see that come to fruition. It seems super, what I love is how tangible your goals are, and that it's like, locally started and grown and what have you. No pun intended. But I think this is so amazing, and I'm so grateful that you gave this presentation. Thank you, Amanda. Okay, woohoo. We'll go ahead and bye. We'll go ahead and move back and forward to Karen. Let me make sure that we're
Hi,
all good. Hi.
everyone. Hi,
Hello.
guys. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Why
Okay,
don't we
perfect.
dive right in? So excited.
Yes. Okay. So as I was saying earlier, Mind Over Miles combines movement, community, and mental health. So we've hosted 5 runs so far and have collectively gone over 1,000 people out. Today we actually had 600 runners, and the motto of "You can do hard things together." So with having a third space, I think it's really important to have intention behind it. So I have a lot of icebreakers that happen where, for example, today we had a bingo, and on the bingo, it said, give a stranger a genuine compliment. So instead of just having a third space for people to mingle, I want to be intentional with it where I facilitate it and help people mingle, because it's really hard and awkward to go up to someone and be like, hi, my name is Karen. But it's a lot easier when everyone is doing it. So it's no longer weird or awkward because everyone is doing it. So it becomes normalized. And with mental health, a lot of the prompts are like, what is one thing you do that makes you happy, or what is one long-term goal you have this year? So when we're able to connect with people on a deeper level and normalize it every single time people come out, those conversations become normal. I think right now it's harder to get into those conversations because there's no spaces for them, or even when there is, it's really hard to facilitate. So at these events, other than events, I also have field days, and at these field days we also have, like football, volleyball, basketball. And I think movement is a great way for people to step into or step out of their comfort zone. Um, and being able to do with everyone else also is such like a great idea, because it, like I said earlier, with running, you are the one in charge of whether or not you're moving, right? No one else can dictate whether or not you try. So it really is a mindset game where it's like, I can do it, like I can do hard things. And when you see everyone else doing hard things, you also want to do hard things. So for the future of Mind Over Miles, I want to continue incorporating these mental health conversations where people are uplifting each other, and to continue having these hard conversations. Yeah, that's it.
Amazing. We'll bring everybody back into the room. Yay! Great job, Karen. All right, I'll turn it over to the mentors for any feedback.
I could start. I think this is a great idea. I love the idea of you can do hard things together. I really love that message. And I mean, you can do hard things together and with support of each other. There's that
Right.
sort of undercurrent of that as well. And the idea of creating intentional space is, I think, really important. Um, you know, we don't often have intentional spaces where we can talk about mental health. Um, and I think, in terms of our communities, we really need that, right? Because we don't just naturally say, well, you know, what's going on with your mental health, right? So I think having these intentional spaces is really important. And this idea of normalizing conversations, right? I mean, that's critical in terms of, I think, mental health concerns.
Yeah.
I guess I would I mentioned to the last participant that NAPIMA has a training program called Achieving Whole Health Body, Mind, Spirit, which, I'm happy to talk to you at some point about. But, this idea that it's a whole health approach. And I think, like exercise and like, that kind of thing is part of that approach. Um, Go ahead, Michelle. I'll hold off on that.
Well done, Karen. It's amazing to hear your pitch. And I picked out actually the same highlights that Pata had mentioned. That tagline you have of "we can do hard things together" is so beautiful and speaks to the resiliency of the Asian mental health experience. And I actually really encourage you to own that and use that language a lot, right? Because I think in Asian communities, we have this attitude of like, we've experienced hardship. So why talk about your mental health, right? It's like that's something small, we minimize it. But I love how you take this idea and flip it on its head, right? That yes, we have overcome things, we can do hard things, we can be resilient and overcome anything. So I think that is something that is so culturally meaningful to help break the stigma. So well done on language and speaking to shared values there. And yeah, I also picked out that you said normalizing this, in a sense, culture of wellness, right, in your third space. And that's such a key, right? When it's so stigmatized in Asian communities, sometimes we forget that, like, we are the community, right? You are building your own space, your own community. And I love that you're using that opportunity to create a culture of wellness that combines running and mental health conversations. So again, beautiful way to marry mental health, physical health, and break the stigma. It's amazing.
I had one more thought. I don't know if you provide any resources or have any kind of, like local resource kind of things that people wanted to take, like a question you have about mental health and take it further or find out more or, learn something more about, if someone is struggling or has a mental health concern. That's just another thing you might want to think about is, and maybe inviting, someone who's a runner, I'm not, but but who's a runner to your space, who is a practitioner, a mental health practitioner, or someone in the community who has those resources to just share a little bit more about, what, their experience and maybe their experience with using running as a coping mechanism or, that kind of thing. So that might be another little add-on eventually for you.
I love that. Just one piece of feedback now, since I know Mind Over Miles is, no pun intended again, already up and running. Document data with it. You have 600 attendees. That's incredible. Take surveys, do things. Just we want to, I think as the future of this sort of holistic wellness healthcare, the mental health care grows, we need stats and we need to understand that this is helpful. And I think you have such a real opportunity to engage with the community, collect this data so that things like this can pave on forward, not just for you, but for, folks who are working on these sort of holistic health, mental health, and physical health, the perfect, marriage of the two. I think it would be really important to collect some survey data for your participants and just like testimonials and stuff. But great work. Sorry, back to Michelle, I think.
Oh yeah, actually just adding on to that too. Yeah, the hardest part about launching these programs is piloting it, and you've already done that. And especially it being so large scale, I echo what Carrie said, utilize the buy-in that you have from the community, get that data, and when you present it, it's going to lead to opportunities. So I would actually encourage you to think about, if you haven't already, what is a targeted ask that you can ask for support for scaling up this large scale project. So maybe a school or a corporation really loves what they're doing and want to support you somehow. What is that ask that you can accompany with the data that you're presenting to show, because you're showing it works, and how do you build on it?
Thank you guys for all your advice. So right now, I don't have mental health resources yet, but I am curating like a team of like social workers and local therapists in the area who like have been coming out to the runs, and they're very willing to like volunteer and help with like growing, resources, and also just coming up with ways where I can incorporate more, more conversations, more mini activities. And my goal is to over time like build enough rapport with the community where if they want help, then it's easier to ask when they know who I am or they know each other, because when you're just seeking help from like a clinician can be scary at times, right? But when you do it together or when you see someone else doing it, it's a little bit less scary. And I really like the part you said about the data. I was also thinking that too. So right now I'm currently working on the mental health aspect of it, and I have a team that's going to help me do that as well.
Amazing. Great job, Karen.
Great.
You guys.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we want to make sure we're getting in the next amazing presenter. So, Karen, thank you so much. That was incredible.
Thank you so
I
much
really
for
appreciate.
having me.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna welcome in Shanida. Let's get that in there,
Thank
and
you.
then after Shanida, we'll have some on you. Go ahead and do that. Perfect. Awesome. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Do you have a visual aid, or are you going to pitch
No,
to us?
I'm just going to present. Yeah.
Perfect. Give me a
Mhm.
split second. Let me change the view. There we go. Okay, you're all set. Feel free to go.
Hi everyone. It's so good to be here. My name is Noshnada So, and I was born and raised in Burma refugee camp. I grew up there, and I moved to the United States 3 years ago to study at Cornell University. And I had a chance to be exposed to this program, and my project is called Soft Spaces, which is the rooms for the words we never said. So I created this idea because I've noticed that many young people, especially Asian communities, the youth between like 16 to 24, like we struggle silently with mental health challenges, and it can connect it to like relationships, identity, or family expectations and experiences of like emotional or sexual harm. So a lot of us are taught to keep going and also stay quiet or appear strong, like even when we're hurting, especially in our Asian communities. And sometimes we don't even have the words to explain what we feel. So instead of creating a space where people are expected to talk like a talk therapy, I wanted to create a space where people are where like healing could start with like more gentle. So soft space is an immersive mental health experience made up of individual private parts, so which is like a soundproof pod. So each pod is softly designed with calming lights, textures, and music, and also like reflective prompts inside them, and also with like some materials. And inside, the participants can sit alone and express themselves, their words, through art, drawings, writings, or the letters that never sent. For example, someone might write like a letter to a partner after heartbreak, but without sending it, or a letter to their younger self, or words they never felt safe saying out loud. So, and also the participant can choose to keep their word private or can leave it anonymously, or they can receive an anonymous, like supportive response from those who relate to that. So the idea is inspired by a trauma-informed art therapy and also emotional regulation practices. So because for many people, especially those survivors of those like really emotional distress, like verbal communication, like talk therapy can feel overwhelming and not safe. But art allows people to express and process emotions before they are ready to explain them in words. So I want this project to be meaningful to them, and then say it out loud with like drawing out loud their words that they can never be able to talk. Thank you. Mhm.
Amazing. We'll turn it over to our mentors.
Michelle, I should go. You can pop back and forth.
Well done. I have to say, I just love your approach of soft spaces. It's so reflective of meeting our community where we're at, right? So I have to say, I love this soft approach, gentle approach to breaking the stigma. And I have to say, what you're doing is really building mental health literacy, right? Because our community doesn't have the words. And I love that you provide so many different options and outlets for people to start that process and also to express what they're feeling. And so this project that you're proposing, it very much sounds like something that can be an alternative or a companion to talk therapy, which is very stigmatized in our communities. So I really love that. And I have to say, there's just excellent options all along the way from what you have been describing. And so I would love to hear maybe just like where the project is at now, or what's your next step?
Yeah, my next step would be just like implementing like where specifically taking out data with which part of like the United States like Asian are like feeling more like distressed, like just taking out data from there, and then like based on like the most high rates of that, we would just collaborate with the mental health or like survivor support organizations, and from there we would just start building up our project. Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I love the idea of having a quiet space with, with reflection and the idea that you could keep it private or you could share it and get support. Um, I was actually I did this as part of a museum thing actually where where people could write stuff out and then put it up or keep it and it was very powerful. Um, I think you're right. I mean, and what Michelle was saying, talk therapy is stigmatized in our communities, and this is definitely a place where people might be able to just sort of start with that reflective moment of, well, how am I? What does my mental health look like? Even, not even, um, and I do think though that one of the things that you might want to consider is, well, you start there and then where do these people go if they want more or if they want, a resource or if there are other spaces in the community, support spaces that aren't necessarily clinical spaces, but to just have, an idea of like what both clinical spaces, because someone might realize in this process that, oh, gee, I really would like to talk to a counselor, or, this might be helpful to me. Or, I would like a support group, or, would like to talk to peers, you know. I think but I think it's a really great way to get people, you know, thinking about, well, what does my mental health look like? And, not have to um, make a commitment, say, to therapy or something like that.
Yeah, thank you. Mhm.
Yeah, I like this. I think a great way to start with this, I love that your um, first step now is gathering data and gathering areas of which you could do this. But I also feel that this may be a great space to test out, like, especially the immersive experience that you've described to me in like local wellness spaces or like libraries, even just sort of testing the waters of what resources you could bring into this space, how to make it the cozy and gentle space to land and then opening it up to folks and then seeing what people think and then building from there. Because I think you have a lot of really great ideas. And I think it's a good time to start, doing that sort of outreach to these local like places that already have existing spaces where you could build upon those that may need the resources as well. So yeah, I
There,
need feedback.
there's also, I mean, there are also places that have those like quiet pods, and you could see if you could partner or something with one of those spaces. I mean, they tend to charge quite a bit, but maybe you can find someone who's willing to at least open it up for a one-time event or something.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback.
Yes, thank you. Oh, we're so excited to see your, project come to life. Thank you so much for your pitch.
Thank you.
Thank
Yay,
you.
great
Yay.
job. We have one more young innovator coming in. I'm going to go ahead and admit them, but thank you so much, Schneider. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye. Okay. Last but not least, in this young innovators quest, we have someone new. Let's make sure they're able to join in. You have to turn on your camera. I know that's the part that's holding folks in a Zoom limbo. There we go. Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm super excited to be here.
See,
Um,
there we go.
I'll
Okay.
just go ahead and present my slides, I think. So-
Yes, let me make sure you have presenter access. Um, yes, allow. Perfect. Okay, go ahead. Is it working? Do you need some support? There we go. Yes, perfect.
Okay, is it showing up? All right. Um, all right, just to start off, hi, my name is Samanu, and today I'm going to be presenting Warm Line Prescriptions, a new front door to mental health care. So first, I just want to start off a little bit about myself. I was diagnosed with OCD when I was 7 years old. At that age, I didn't fully understand what I was really experiencing. I only knew that my thoughts felt overwhelming and isolating in ways I couldn't really explain. And while I was fortunate to eventually access, the support and the care that I needed, I also grew up navigating the cultural silence that often surrounds mental health, especially in many AAPI communities, as I know that you guys are probably familiar with working in this space. What stayed with me most was realizing how many people never even reach that point of accessing that care. Not because they're unwilling to seek help or they don't want help, but because support can feel so, so distant. It can feel stigmatized and really, really unfamiliar, whether you're a child, whether you're an adult, whether you're a family. And I guess as I got older, I've started thinking more about that space that exists before crisis, before diagnosis. How do we get um, someone to these resources before they know or they know how to access them? And that question became sort of the foundation for Warmline prescriptions. So, what's the problem? Mental health care is too often too late. Right now, there's such a gap, especially in youth mental health care. Most systems are designed to respond once someone has already reached crisis, when they've already reached their breaking point. But what about the space before that? What happens to the people who are struggling silently while showing up every single day? Whether they're succeeding academically, whether they're smiling socially, or appearing okay from the outside. For many young people, especially in immigrant and collectivist communities and cultures, silence can often be mistaken for strength. And research shows that early intervention, peer connection is so, so important. But many systems don't link people to these resources until they're actually able to get to them in the first place. So that's like a huge gap that we have right now. Um, and why does this matter? Because eventually, youth aren't seeking that support that they need. They feel very disconnected from traditional systems, and current spaces don't feel culturally fluent enough or even safe to go to. So my biggest question was really, how do we make support feel less hard to access, less clinical or sort of, administrative, and something that's more community based, something that's open, something that resonates with our cultures, our heritages, our backgrounds, and ways that feel very familiar to access. So enter the idea warm line prescriptions. So these would be structured small group attempts called prescriptions, which are like 4-week guided programs that are more like reflective workshops or like community experiences rather than the more, I guess, like administrative notion of therapy. I feel like this really lowers the barrier to participation, but still gives a lot of meaningful support. So these are just like some sessions that I've devised, but obviously in different contexts, these can be like edited and, changed to best fit the group. So one example is Family Scripts Lab. So that would help participants navigate difficult intergenerational conversations that might be taking place regarding mental health. I know that's something that I personally had to navigate a lot as an AAPI youth. Body reset sessions would focus on stress regulation and, somatic practices that feel very open and sort of easy to engage in. And then quiet identity workshops would create space for more discussion-based conversations around identity, belonging. What does mental health mean when you're navigating dual cultural expectations, for example? So this is a model that I've intended to be very, very adaptable. So it doesn't only have to fit in AAPI context, but any sort of youth mental health context, it would sort of work. I think another super exciting part is really the digital layer to this. I keep thinking about how a lot of youth emotional life, a lot of youth social life currently exists digitally, whether it's, late night voice memos, notes, app journals, messages. I feel like vulnerability is already happening online, but a lot of digital spaces and especially social media can feel designed around isolation. So I wanted to make a digital environment that deepens community, deepens entry, and I think the best way to really do that is kind of through like a story-based interface. So participants could maybe contribute like anonymous reflections during their sessions. If they don't feel comfortable sharing something personal about their identity, then the digital interface would be a way to sort of talk about questions like what feels unspoken right now? How are you feeling rather than focusing on the label of a diagnosis or, what's happening to me? Because I know, especially when you're navigating mental health in those early stages, there can be a lot of pressure and a lot of, I guess, like notion and narrative that you have to like undergo or be diagnosed with like a certain condition to be able to access care. So this completely removes that pressure and focuses on story-based, narrative-based prompts and community building. Right. So ultimately, how is this different from existing structures? I think the main thing is really that early support versus crisis response and sort of this emphasis on community instead of clinic. Because I feel like just that barrier of getting to a therapist, finding someone like that in itself can be something that's very difficult. And for people that don't know on, how to especially define what they're going through, it can be hard to even know like where do I go to access the sort of care I need. So this is like an even initial barrier point to that. I think another big change is this centering on narrative, centering on your story and telling that story. Because I think that's so, so important. Something that we don't often emphasize the importance that people have just by sharing their own reflections. I think silence isn't just the fact that people might not have something to say. It means that people have never been given spaces where they're able to tell these narratives, where they're able to speak their stories freely. Even when you're in a clinical setting, sometimes it can feel like you have to say something to receive a certain benefit or receive a certain diagnosis. There's a lot of pressure that's there. So I just wanted to remove that notion of pressure and really create a collective care-based community. Because care should not only begin when someone is falling apart. Care should start with creating a community structure that allows people to access that support from the very, very beginning. And then just like on a more logistical side, in terms of implementation, I think we're going to start small and then sort of build our way up from there and sustainable. So I think just to pilot, I began by partnering with student organizations, AAPI organizations, community groups to launch a small set of these warm line prescriptions. And we trained some peer leaders and facilitators just to kind of get them involved in the model and sort of see like how are they feeling, any feedback that they might have in our sessions. I think that'll also be a way to sort of iteratively build and make the pilot even more like expansive. And then the long-term vision is to create a scalable model. So obviously it doesn't only have to apply to a certain cultural group. It can apply to any context. It doesn't even have to be only youth. It can be an intergenerational sort of space as well. Because I really feel that this can grow across multiple spaces. I think the future of mental health shouldn't be limited to only one space, whether it's clinical, one space, whether it's one certain group. I think it should be expansive. And that really, really is the goal to sort of create a national sort of network, rebuilding an emotional and social infrastructure that sort of, you know, bypasses traditional boundaries. And just to end it off, what if support felt like being understood before you really had to explain yourself? As someone who entered the mental health system very, very early and very, very young, that's something that I always think about. How do we make a community model that can feel more warm, more collective, more acknowledging? And how do we build that space in a way that's gentle, that's early, and supports people that don't have access to the system yet and are still navigating a lot of these challenging questions that come with mental health and mental health care. So thank you so much.
Amazing. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and put a gallery view. You feel free to stop sharing your screen just so
Mhm.
we can see everybody. Incredible. Okay, we only have like a couple minutes left for feedback, but why don't we go over to Pata?
Okay, I think it's a great idea, and I think that we absolutely have to start before crisis. As someone who works in suicide prevention, feel
Right.
very strongly about this. I love your little, like, possible workshops. I think they were really interesting. One of the things that I have questions about, and I would say more about what's great about it, except we don't have a lot of time. So, is as people engage these things, what support do you have in case they are struggling? And
Mhm.
like, what resources do you have to get people to a higher level of care if they need it?
Mhm.
Um, and I also just want to point out that warm lines is actually a thing. It's a there are call centers for warm lines. Um, and so I'm wondering about just sort of the title of it, because I'm also wondering about prescription in terms of like people thinking medication and like not knowing, not being able to connect to this is not that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. I
Just
think
a
that's
question. Yeah.
That's actually a really good point. Thank you so much for that feedback. I think the title is something that's still maybe a work in progress. I didn't actually know about the wormland concept actually, so I think that might be something to work on. Initially, like my idea behind that was like, oh, like this warm space and sort of the aspect of like diagnosis that's more collective. But I think
Mhm.
maybe something more community centered could also be something that I potentially do. In terms of connection, I think that's also like a huge, huge emphasis is really like linkage. So the first step
Mhm.
is really outreaching to different organizations, building those partnerships with already existing providers, building partnerships with state departments, and sort of areas of linkage. And I think the biggest thing in like public health and mental health spaces that I notice is everyone is doing great, great work, and we don't want to reinvent the model. And I think that's also a goal of this. The goal is not to create more linkage or where there already exists opportunities or where there already exists resources, but rather putting all these opportunities in conversation with each other, all these groups in conversation with each other. And especially because this is like a very early sort of space for linkage. I think not even like the notion of like this being like professional mental health or even therapy, but rather there'd be like a clear boundary that this is sort of like a more early supportive type of environment, and that there are other resources and partners that we will, contact if needed, and that there are like escalation pathways and protocols that are put in place for that, and with the right like training and supervision and referral, like we'll make sure that everything is clear. And I feel like that's something
Sure.
that we'd have like a discussion with facilitators about as well, and like partners.
I love it. That's great. Let's go to Michelle and then we'll wrap up with feedback. Yeah.
You read my mind, Pata. That was actually the only thing that I had a question about as well. Never doubt the power of branding. So that was my first question. I was like, oh, is this clinical care? Is this connected to medication management? And so just think about the audience that you're working with, right? Can the term prescriptions be more or less stigmatizing, right?
Mhm.
Because it might be more stigmatizing if it has that connection to meds, clinical care that is highly stigmatized in our community. Or on the other hand, maybe you might want to target a more science, medicine, health professional student population. For example, us at Thriving Asians, we brand our programs as youth mental health leadership programs. And we also know that if we were to offer simply Asian mental health support program, a lot of students, their parents wouldn't be super supportive of them enrolling in that, right?
Mhm.
But when you phrase it as a leadership program, then it's destigmatized and it's a little bit easier to engage in that education space, that leadership space. So I think what you do is also it's diverse enough too, right? Like there's education, there's family bonding. So I think being able to have some clever branding that incorporates all those different things that you do that will be non-stigmatizing is a good thing to consider. But overall, same thing that Pata had said, I think your emphasis on community collective care, moving to prevention from, reacting to crisis is so, so key. And it sounds like what you're doing is really helping the community open up that continuum of care, right? So overall, just excellent. And I'd love to see what you do with this.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for the feedback. I completely agree. And like now that I think about that too, like that's something that I've noticed as well, like a lot as like someone who's like trying to get into the space of like youth mental health and like leadership, is like how do we give people resources in ways that don't feel hard to access in the first place? Because I don't want this to be another like barrier to entry, especially when we want it to be so early on. So I think maybe even something that sort of not even emphasizes mental health care in that aspect, but more of like a community discussion space or like activity space, workshop, where we like discuss identity, and peer support in ways that would also touch on a lot of these questions about mental health. So maybe even like Echo or like Open Circle, something like that might be better. But that was a really interesting concept too, like of like adding that leadership aspect. Um,
I just want to say one other thing, which is I think the whole narrative piece is really important too. And, that we tell our stories. And I'd invite you to contact me through NAPIMA to talk about the Napian Network, which is our network of people with lived experience and what we're doing there. And because I think it might help inform you.
I love that.
Definitely. I've actually been connected to someone at NAPIMA recently with the workforce development.
Uh-huh.
But I think that might be like a different program because I do a lot of work
Different
with
program. Yeah.
uh Taran, which is like an NC sort of base service, but our founder Pooja Mehta was actually like
Sure.
really, really involved in NAPIMA.
Yeah. But I'm Pat at NAPIMA, so just
mm,
feel free. Any
Thank you
of
so
the
much.
presenters, feel free to contact me.
Amazing. Well, I do want to wrap it up because we do have an amazing next presentation on digital wellness from Courtney at the Jed Foundation. So I just want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you, all of our young innovators. That was so inspiring. I'm super, super grateful. Samanyu, I loved your presentation so much. It was so good. One thing I particularly loved with the family script labs. I think that's a really good through line, the narrative around it, as well as Michelle and Pata were saying. That's so great. I can't wait to follow the rest of your work. And that wraps up our Young Innovators Quest. Thank you, Pata and Michelle. Yay!
Thank you so much for this
Thank y'all.
opportunity.
Yes. All right. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Courtney from the Jed Foundation. I'll do a quick little share screen for intros here. And then, oh, where did everybody go? Here we go. And then I'll also bring in Jasmine, who is in, I think. So we have Courtney Knowles, who's the Senior Media Advisor at the Jed Foundation, here to present an incredible digital wellness guide. It's super, super important here. So hi, Courtney, how are you?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm going to go ahead and
Perfect.
turn it over to you. And I think, let me just make sure Jasmine has share screen access. Perfect. There we go.
Perfect. And I was trying to, so we're good, right? We're live. I can't
We are
see anything.
live,
Okay,
yes.
perfect. Good, good, good. Well, good. Welcome. Thanks for allowing me to join you today. I actually have been tuning in throughout, and so there's just been so much interesting information. I am Courtney Knowles. I have worked with the Jed Foundation for about 20 years, but in different fields, and I work a lot in talking with young adults and digital creators on the influence of being online and what digital wellness means today. So, perfect. There we go. And so then the presentation, and I will say too, the reason that I am dressed very hippie-ish is immediately after this, I'm going to an event that apparently involves baseball, dressing silly, and dancing. So I would also like to add to Jennifer's list of potential self-care strategies that silliness and dancing are two things we can also do to help manage stress. But that's why I'm in extra hippie mode today. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide when we can skip me. Hi, that's me. I wanted to take just a second. Obviously, we did a beautiful meditation at the beginning of today's event, but we've also talked about a lot of topics. People shared some amazing ideas, which can get our minds kind of moving quickly. And a lot of our conversation about digital wellness is about slowing down or kind of simplifying some of the narratives that are in our mind. So I thought it would be lovely if before we dive into some tips, we just did another short kind of grounding exercise, little moment together to kind of release everything that we've been thinking about and kind of focus really on this moment and what we can do to take care of ourselves online. So it's always interesting to do this when you can't see people, but if you could all just, if you feel comfortable, just close your eyes for a second. Just kind of relax everything. Feel the contact with your chair or if your feet are on the floor. Let's take a big deep breath in together through our nose. And just let that all go. Taking one more deep breath in. And then exhaling it all out. As you just continue to breathe at your own pace. I'd love for you to just think for a second about a situation or a moment or something where you feel the most like yourself. It could be something you like doing, creating, it could be being outside, it could be running. This was talked about earlier, but just that feeling that you have when you're disconnected from all the stories and your online and digital life, and you just kind of feel like yourself in your own skin. And if that's hard to grasp or conceptualize, maybe just like a beautiful view or something that makes you feel calm and relaxed. Just kind of visualize and feel that in your body, because that kind of essence of ourselves, that simplicity when we're feeling connected to the moment, when we're not caught up in all of the narratives that are going on around us online or in our lives, that's what we're really trying to protect when we talk about digital wellness. We're trying to protect the us that exists beneath and beyond all the things that we do and consume. So just taking a second to be grateful for that part of ourselves and to remember that that's really what we're focused on taking care of today. Let's take one more deep breath in through our nose and let it all go. And then I also too, sometimes as I'm opening my eyes, I like to just do a little shake. And I'm the only one anyone can see, so you don't have to feel weird about it. Just shake off any kind of stress or anything that you don't need right now in this moment. We'll kind of come back here and let's talk about digital wellness and taking care of ourselves for a second. So we want to go to the next slide. The things we're going to talk about today. And also, what is our wrap time here? I want to make sure that I'm staying on track.
We have about 10, 15. 10
Perfect. That's lovely. So as a starting point, if you have some sort of journal or you're writing, just thinking for a second right now about what's one word or what's one way of describing how you feel about your digital life right now. So that means kind of you're interacting with technology, social media. I know there's a lot of people listening that are advocates. And so that could be your advocacy, all of the things you're doing online. Just think for a second about how that feels. And also thinking for a second of how you just feel about the amount of time you're spending online right now. That's something that comes up that you think about, that you want to change. You feel pretty comfortable with it. Just kind of write that down or think about it and let it go, and we'll come back to it in a minute after we've talked about some ways that we can kind of protect or think about our digital wellness. Maybe go to the next slide. I'm going to overview what we're going to talk about, and then I'm actually going to send the slides away because I feel like I'd like it to feel more like a conversation. But I think one of the most important things, kind of like I set up in the meditation, for us to remember is that there's all these components of our life, and our digital life is such a big part of it. It's a way we communicate and connect with friends. It's a way we advocate. It's a way sometimes we just spend time or burn off nervous energy. And it can really start to feel like part of who we are, especially if you're someone who is sharing stuff online and you're looking at likes and comments or you're seeing things that feel like you or feel like somebody similar to you. And so how that interaction's going impacts how you feel. And really, the goal of all these digital wellness tips is to remember that we are not actually all of those elements we're interacting with. We are not that content. We are kind of the energy and the passion and the personality behind them. So we're going to go through a few steps that are different ways or strategies we can use to kind of protect ourselves so that we don't get so caught up in that. So it doesn't become something that feels overwhelming or that we have to do, and that it's something that is more intentional and part of our life in a healthy way. So we're going to walk through setting intentions, creating healthy boundaries, navigating kind of negativity when that comes up, and then briefly kind of what to do if the overwhelm feels like it might be something we need to reach out and seek support for. So, Desmond, if you want to go ahead and get rid of the slides, and I can just jump in. Perfect. I can just kind of talk it out. So let's talk a second about setting intentions when you go on social media. And this is something I've actually done in my own life over the last year. And it's such a powerful tool because it's so easy for us just to slip into scrolling online. You know, they talk about the doom scroll, and we're doing just a combination of things. You know, something catches our interest and we go down kind of a rabbit hole, or we're looking at friends' posts, or maybe there is advocacy stuff or information that we want to know that helps us make informed decisions. And a really powerful way to prevent social media becoming this like blur of scroll that can feel overwhelming is to set an intention each time we go on. You know, I'm going on because hey, I want to check in with my friends and family. And I found it really powerful. And you know, there's obviously evidence behind doing things to help other people. Sometimes I'll actually go on with the intention of, I want to check in and I want to kind of inspire or support. So I'm going to spend 15, 20 minutes online seeing what's going on with my friends and family, but I'm also going to really make an effort to like and comment in positive ways that make them feel better. Maybe you're going on because you want to research something, you know, you want to find information on something, setting that attention. Maybe it has to do with your advocacy. Some of the amazing ideas that were presented before, projects presented before, involve online and organizing and community. So I'm going on for that reason. It's also fine to go on. I just want to have a little fun. I just want to distract and unwind. Be aware that you're doing that, going on because you specifically have something to post. So I think it's this notion of when I pick up my phone and enter social media, I'm doing it with a certain intention. And then I think what's really, really key is when you feel that strain, you went in to check in with friends and family, and suddenly you find yourself seeing stuff that makes you self-compare, or gosh, I wish I was doing more of that, or I had more of that, or news that feels really heavy and is making you feel different from how you intended when you started the journey. Just being aware of that and kind of returning to your intention. And I'll even sometimes, if I am going on for work because I need to post something for work, and then I see a friend's content and I'm like, oh yeah, I'd really love to spend some time doing that. I'll sometimes even get off the social media app, spend a little time doing something else, breathe, ground, and then come back on, just to prevent that blurring of I'm just on social media and I'm scrolling. Because that's, you know, there's a lot of data that we could share. There's a lot of great information on stress at the beginning today, but there's not a lot of good that comes out of just like spiraling online and looking at content without an intention and just letting the algorithm take you where it takes you. So setting intention is really powerful too. And then just kind of setting healthy boundaries around your digital life. So whether that's blocking off time on your calendar the same way you do for school or work. One thing that's been a game changer for me, and I've been leading some sessions recently with very high follower digital creators, and they've talked about how powerful it can be for them, is just not using your phone for a set amount of time before you go to bed or when you wake up in the morning. There's tons of data that says looking at screens before we go to sleep negatively impacts our sleep. But it's also just a matter of letting you wrap the end of each day and begin the beginning of each day really connected to that like real you that we talked about before, that connected to what you want the intention to be for the day before you're kind of influenced by all of these storylines and narratives and voices. And if you're used to falling asleep with your phone and kind of waking up with it, like many of us are and have been, it can be a little uncomfortable at first. So you may want to replace it with like reading a book or doing something specific. But it's such a, I promise it's such a game changer if you don't do it. Uh, Also, being really kind of intentionally of what you choose to share, something that we've been thinking about and noticing a lot lately. And I even find it, I went on a hike this morning and I turned the corner and saw a family of deer. And without even thinking about it, my first instinct was to grab my phone and take a picture. And I think this thing has happened, especially if we're very active online. We like to tell stories online, where when something feels good or inspiring or beautiful, our first instinct is to think about how to capture and share it. And that can be really deter the mental health benefits of those moments, all the self care and stress relieving things that Jennifer mentioned earlier. We really lose the benefit of them if we're actively trying to document or thinking about how we're going to share them. So just kind of setting a boundary of like, yeah, there are going to be some things I want to share, but I'm also going to keep some things for myself. And then in the moment when you feel good and you get that instinct to grab your phone and record and capture to share, a practice I do is like, I can do that in 2 minutes. Maybe not with the deer, they probably ran away. But most of the time, like, bring your attention back to the moment and what felt good and what made you want to capture it in the first place so you can keep that for yourself. Um, Another part of setting healthy boundaries is obviously using tools like privacy settings, filters, and moderation features. It is your feed. If there is stuff online that is constantly, when it pops up, making you feel a certain way that's not good, unfollow, mute, curate it. I often say we wouldn't keep things in our house that every time we look at them, we're thinking, oh, I don't like that. That doesn't feel good. Your digital life is the same way. Moderate it. Um, and then also, too, whenever you can, go analog. Use journals and planners to write things down. If you have a hard time doing things on your devices without getting kind of sucked into the digital social media or the other kind of technological spaces that you go, play around with analog stuff. Do stuff where you don't have to use your phone as much so that that temptation doesn't exist. So Desmond, if you want to bring this one back up again real quick, we'll just a couple more check-in questions if you're kind of journaling is, what would you like your digital relationship with your relationship with the digital world to look like? And thinking about some of the things that we've discussed so far, if you could change one thing, what would it be? Because again, intention setting is so important. So if nothing else comes out of this session, but you setting an intention for something you want to do differently in the way you interact with digital life, whether it's setting some boundaries, not using your device right before bed or in the morning, whatever it might be, kind of just thinking about that in the moment. Let's go to the next slide. And this is all, these are all the kind of things that we know, but sometimes can be hard to remember when we're feeling them. But we know, and data shows that one of the challenges of social media, there are so many benefits to social media, like a tool to connect for things like run clubs, like getting information about the amazing programs that we've talked, like staying connected to people we can't see every day. But we also do know that the social media experience can make us compare ourselves to other people more. It can expose us to more negativity and kind of turn that part of our brain on that's critical of ourselves or others. And so just the simple reminder, and we are right now actively working on these events where we sit in rooms full of creators who collectively have tens, if not hundreds of millions of followers. And I can tell you, they themselves would say, my feed is not a reflection of my actual life. It's what I feel like I can present. It's a snapshot. So just remembering that whenever you see something where you're like, why am I not where they are? Why is my project not where this one is? That remembering you're watching highlights, not a full picture. And then also too, there's some great tools now that let you do things like hide the likes that are on your posts, really curate your experience. Use those if the metrics and the numbers and how people are responding to things are impacting how you feel. And The other thing that I think it's important to remember if we're going online now, especially if we're touching any sort of advocacy issue, is um, people are angry, people's emotions are heightened. So a lot of times negativity that's happening in the comments that might be directed to you or someone you care about, just remembering that in the same way that, there was that time that maybe we were a little too gruff at the barista at Starbucks when our drink wasn't right. It really had very little to do with them. It had to do where we were in our mindset at that time. So just kind of keeping that in mind, and really being aware if these things if difficult feelings are coming up when you're online, be aware that that might be a sign to return to your intentions or to set some more boundaries. I think we might have one slide left. Yeah, and then just kind of building on where we checked in before, if you are taking notes or if you just want to mentally take away, from this session, what's one or two small changes you want to make to support your digital wellness? And May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so we can kind of make it, what do you want to do in May? And how can you kind of implement that? And of course, giving yourself a lot of grace if you don't always follow through, because a lot of our digital behavior is habit, and that can be a little challenging to change. But having the intention and the mindset is a big part of it. And then lastly, because I know we need to wrap up, I will share some resources that you can access. One, if you're storytelling at all online or you share a lot of content and want some self-care for people that are creators or advocates using online spaces, we have a digital storytelling guide, digitalstorytellingguide.com, where you can go in and tap any issues from environmental stress to breakups to depression, and it will tell you some facts, some things to share, some things not to share. But it also has some great self-care tools just for taking care of yourself online. Jed's Mental Health Awareness Month theme is very much in line with what I talked about before, that instinct we have to pick up our phone when anything feels good. And it's called Here for This. And it's really just encouraging everyone to carve out a little time, 5-10 minutes each day, just to do something where you're really present, you're not multitasking, and the purpose isn't to document it, something that's just for you, because that's just so important for our mental health, stress management, and just overall well-being. The JED's Mental Health Center, which you can get to at jedfoundation.org, is a great resource that you can navigate by what you're feeling, everything from sad to weird to off, or you can navigate by what you're going through, from bullying to discrimination issues to relationship problems. And then we also launched, for those of you that might be creators and be streamers, we've launched a new guide with the app favorited called Stream with Care. And that's at streamwithcare.com, which is specifically self-care and supporting community tips for people that stream. So I will wrap up because I know we're running a little behind, but thank you so much for letting us share some of these tips and these resources. And it's been really inspiring for me. And I look forward to seeing the rest of the session.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Courtney. That was so
Of course.
great. I am so excited to implement those practices in my own life. I am truly one who sleeps with my phone like literally under my pillow. So I'm going to be implementing these.
It is a game, I promise you. It's a game changer. And then you don't have to
I'm
look
sure
for
it
your
is.
phone. I hate that feeling of looking for my phone and my AirPods when I wake up first thing. So
Yes.
thank you so much.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Courtney. Again, everybody check out these amazing digital resources from the Jed Foundation. We'll go ahead and link them in the chat as well. But I wanted to welcome on our final presenters, our last workshop of the day. We'll go ahead and go into gallery view. Thank you so much again, Courtney and Jasmine. We have the amazing Serena and Michaela. I'll do a quick slide that intros the both of you because y'all are incredible. This is our final presentation of Honor Your Feelings Fest. Thank you all for bearing with us. I know it's gone a little bit over, but I am so excited to wrap up with this. Serena is incredible and Michaela is wonderful, and we're so excited to have this mindful doodle stretch and sketch art therapy workshop. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to disappear and I'll turn it over to you both.
All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mindful Doodles. I hope you have all been having an amazing morning sharing in this space and community. I've had such a great time with Asian Mental Health Project across the years and also went to USC. So really happy to be here. And thank you, Carrie, for having us. My name's Serena, and Michaela and I will be leading you in some guided drawing and breathing exercises to end your morning at Honor Your Feelings Quest. But before we get started, let's get a few minutes to get materials for this last bit of time we need together. So you'll need at least 2 pieces of paper. If you have more than that, that's awesome. Or you could use a whiteboard. Mine currently has a cute illustration by my roommate, Kara. And you will also need pens or markers or whatever you need to draw with. So if you want to go ahead and get that in the next couple of minutes, that would be awesome. But in the meantime, we could introduce ourselves. So my name is Serena Au. I use the pronouns she and they, and I'm an occupational therapist or OT. I'm a second generation Chinese American, originally from the Seattle area with roots in Hong Kong, Macau, and Venezuela. And I use art and in particular murals and graffiti workshops to target students' mental health and well-being in schools here in LA. I also lead OT-based creative programming here in the community. So nice to meet you all. Thanks for having me.
Hi, my name is Michaela Louie, and I'm a Chinese American and current senior at USC studying cognitive science and minoring in occupational science. I will be graduating next week, and I am a current occupational therapy intern under Serena.
Yes, I'm really grateful Michaela could be here with me today, and congratulations to Michaela and all the other grads out there. We're really excited. So hopefully you've got something to draw with now. This is an open, healing, and loving virtual space, so feel free to take and receive what you need during this time you have with us and leave what you don't. We know you could be anywhere in the world here with us today because you've set the intention of taking this mindful, creative practice for yourself. We're honored to be here for your practice. So feel free to do whatever feels good within you and your body. So I'll be drawing in terms of my drawing is on camera. But before this, let's do some hand exercise. Warm your body up. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shake out my hands and I'm gonna go do a wrist work. If you wanna join me in doing your wrist work. A long week, maybe you type a lot like me, we'll go the other way. And relax out your fingers and feet are an organism. You're not just a worker. All right, for this other one, we are going to now make a fist as tight as you can and do firework. Tight as we can. Firework. Let's do 2 more. Fist as tight as we can. And firework. Last one. Great. Job. For this next one, we're gonna do finger to thumb touches on both hands. Like this. And go backwards. We'll end right here on this set. Nice job. All right, for this next one, we're gonna touch our finger to the center of our palm. We're gonna go like this. Right, with your index fingers, little fingers, ring fingers, and tape. Backwards. And on your thumb. And okay. For this one, we're gonna make gaps between all of our fingers. And oh, it's too hard. Honor our fingers and hands. They do a lot for us. A lot of our occupations are based with our fingers. All right. For this one, we're gonna bend each wrist back just a bit like this. And hold. And we're gonna bend that same wrist down and hold. Take it out. Other wrist. And bend it down. Okay, we'll shake it out. All right, for this one, your hands are ducks. Quack, quack. For this one, you will say quack, quack, and the duck eats something sour. Yuck. Quack, quack, yuck. And last one. All right, for this next one, you will need some writing utensil. I'm going to choose pink. And you're going to inch your hand along the utensil and back down. Stop dropping it. And one more time. And we'll switch hands. Okay, grab one more. I'm gonna grab purple. And let's try to do this at the same time. Now, maybe you are dropping all of your fingers right now. I'm so sorry. But it's a good way to work out what you can. That helps us do all of it. All right, so for the very last one, you're gonna try to windmill both of them. Ooh. All right, awesome job, everybody. Warming up your hands, fingers, and minds for drawing. You can go ahead and put those down. Great job. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us. And we're ready to get to drawing. So if you're drawing with paper, you may want to fold this hamburger style. So hamburger style means like this. If you only have 2 pieces of paper, so that you have 4 nice drawing surfaces. For sharing purposes of you. Okay, so we're going to do 8 drawing exercises today. This first one is called one breath, one line. For every inhale, you will take a writing utensil and draw 1 line of any kind. And for every exhale, you'll do the same. We're going to do this for 10 deep breaths at your own breathing pace, trying to stay with your breath as much as possible. The type of line is open to artist interpretation, and when you're done, you can keep drawing until we call. I'll give us 2 minutes, and I'll count us down to start breathing and drawing together from 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1 line. And exhale, 1 line. And we'll keep going for 10. I'm going to show you what I made across my 10 breaths. Awesome. Hopefully you see something similar. And great. Thanks for sharing. I'm going to pass it off to Michaela to share about our next one.
All right, for the next one, the next exercise is called gratitude circle. So you can now flip your paper over so you're drawing on the other side, and we'll draw on one half of the page. And for this exercise, you're going to draw 10 circles on your page. So I'll give you some time to do that right now. All right, so I got my 10 circles on the page. So now you're gonna make these 10 circles into the faces of 10 people who made you happy this week. So we're gonna take 2 minutes to honor these people with gratitude. So 3, 2, 1, begin. Okay, so think about all the different people you've encountered in reality or your memories this week. These could be people you know personally or not, maybe people you encountered in passing or thought about from afar. These could be people who are living or not, just whoever brought you joy this week. Also think about the people who you may have brought joy to this week, simply just existing. We interact with so many people in this week.
Oh, that's time for this one. Share. I only got to people, but it was nice to think about them and how much I love them and how much they love me. Thank you, Michaela. All right, so we will go to the next one. You could fold your paper over if you could draw on you could find a new paper. This exercise is called What You Need. So we'll return to taking long, deep, mindful breaths and take 10 breaths together again. But for every inhale, I want you to write a word or draw a picture of something you need more of in your life. And for every exhale, you're going to write a word or draw a picture of something you need to let go of or don't need or don't want anymore. Maybe just the first thing that comes to mind. So inhale, what I need. Exhale, what I don't. And you keep going until you've taken 10 breaths at your own pace. And when you're done, you could keep drawing until we call time. So 3, 2, 1, 2 minutes on the clock. for this one. I'll share. I need more sushi dates in my life and less losers. I'll share to Michaela for our next one.
Some of what I drew was I need some sleep and oh, I don't know if you can see. Maybe if that's okay. Well, I drew I need some sleep and the beach and good noodles, my dog, and I need less negative people and stress. Okay, so for the next activity, you can turn to another piece of paper or any remaining space on your paper. And since we talked about hamburger style, and this is the Asian Mental Health Project program, we're instead not going to use hamburgers, and this next exercise is called Asian Snack Time. For the next 2 minutes, without looking at any references, you will draw a picture of your favorite Asian snack from memory. All right, so everyone's thinking about their snack, and then 3, 2, 1, begin.
That's the time for that one. I drew Hello Panda, one of my favorite Asian snacks. It's also a very Asian OT snack because the pandas are typically doing an occupation. This one's playing baseball, this one's frolicking, this one's napping, and this one's riding a bicycle. And these are all different occupations.
And I drew the seaweed snacks. It has like a little seaweed guy with like a sash and a hat. So that's what I usually like to eat for movies and with friends. So yeah.
I love that. Bring your Asian snacks to the movies. Always work. All right. So if you had a sheet that you folded into hamburger style, you can move on to a new paper. So we're going to start the next one on our new paper, and this exercise is called righty lefty. So I'm a righty, so I'm going to be using my non-dominant left hand. For the next 2 minutes, you're going to use your non-dominant hand to draw a self-portrait to challenge your brain and body. And if you don't want to do a self-portrait and want a reference to look at, you could also draw me, Michaela, or somebody else. But make sure you use your non-dominant hand and make us look cute. All right, ready, set, go. that is time for this one. Okay, hopefully Michaela still likes me after this. Oh, I'm so cute. It's a great exercise to try to use your other hand sometimes.
Looks good. All right, so now you're gonna flip your paper over to the other half. And so this exercise is called contour drawing. So for the next 2 minutes, you will draw the same person without looking down at your hand or drawing to challenge your brain and your body. All right, so once you're ready, we're gonna start. Try your best not to look. And we're gonna start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Not looking at your hand is harder than it looks. Amazing. Michaela, well done. These are all real exercises I use with my kids out in your brain going. That mind-body connection and getting. It doesn't really matter what it looks like so much as just doing it and having it. Oh, and that's time. Wow, and this is my first looking at how gorgeous my girl Michaela looked. Oh, I still look very cute. Look at that. Amazing.
And I drew some of the plants in the background too. That little leaf.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And I wrote proud Asian on the bottom. Trying to put on the shirt.
I love that. Okay, let's see. So you can fold your paper over so you're drawing on a new half. And this exercise is called shape tracing. So whatever is within reach, grab a small object or two that fits in your palm and put it on top of your paper. Use the simple object as a template to draw shapes and forms up to your interpretation. All right, I'm going to start the clock and find something around you that's cute and small to trace. That's the point for that one. I chose these little cute nifty magnets that I happen to have around me. And psychedelic little more.
Nice. So I have this stamp. It's like a name stamp. And I made a little scene. So it's like a pond with the stepping stones and the koi fish and a lotus right here.
Gorgeous. I love it. I love it. I love it. That makes me so happy. All right, so this is our last drawing exercise together. You can flip your paper over so you're drawing on the last new half. And this exercise is called Not Quite, But Soon. So in the middle of the page, you will write 2 affirmations. An affirmation is something positive about yourself. And out of these 2 affirmations, you will write one you know to be true and one you don't quite believe yet. For example, for myself, for the one to know to be true, I might write, I'm an amazing artist. And for myself, for the one I don't quite believe yet, I might write, I am an amazing athlete. Think about the ways you speak to yourself with kindness, patience, and understanding. The voice you're going to hear the most every single day is your own. So illustrate around these 2 affirmations when you're done. One you know to be true about yourself, and one you don't quite believe yet, but want to soon. All right, 2 minutes on the clock. All right. Whatever affirmation you wrote to yourself, remember it's something that you know to be true and one that is also true, but maybe you just don't quite believe yet. Our minds can work in interesting ways. So I wrote, I am an amazing pediatric OT. I know this to be true. I hang out with children all day, every day as a therapist. I know I'm great. This week, I know a lot of people are celebrating Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and others out there. And so the one I wrote that I don't quite believe yet, I personally am not a mother. I don't have kids, but I know I am an amazing bonus mom to all of my students and my interns. Sometimes I just need a little push to remind myself, especially as I work with mostly women and femmes and educators. So that's what I wrote.
Well, I said I'm a persistent in the times of change, so I have a little surfboard, so riding those waves of change. And then I said I am a confident driver, and here's a little car. Yeah, LA, traffic, it gets to you.
Yes, I am sure you are an amazing driver. You just don't know it yet. Thank you guys so much for drawing with us today. And I hope that fed your soul. I know it definitely fed mine to get to share time with you. So hopefully you can remember and use some of these OT-based practices for your own creative mindfulness in the future. If you want to share your art and tag us on Instagram, I go by Chinatown Queen on IG. I would love to hang out. So thank you so much for sharing space and time and creative energy with us today. That's all we have on our end. So we hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. And thanks for having us at Honor Your Feelings Quest.
Thank you so much, Michaela, Serena. That was so incredible. I absolutely loved all the doodles that came out of that and just like the beautiful synergy between you just like art as expression and also the affirmations. I thought that was so meaningful and impactful. So thank you both so much. And congratulations, Michaela. That's so exciting. Graduation. Yay! Yeah, I liked this. This double clap. Okay, I also want to do this too. So great. But thank you both so much. We're so grateful to both of you. And again, thank you to everybody who's been a part of this. That basically concludes our program for today, or it does conclude our program for today. So thank you both very much. I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick little recap, wrap up. Oh my gosh, here I go. So that was Honor Your Feelings Quest. Again, that was our very first Honor Your Feelings Quest, which is, a digital experience. We would love to do this again and again and again. So feel free to get in touch if you'd like to support and what have you. But the festivities are not over yet. Tomorrow, I know, is Mother's Day, but it is also Honor Your Feelings Fest Day. It's also National AANHPI Mental Health Day. Lots of fun things happening on May 10th. But we'd love to see you join us in Little Tokyo at JACCC. The information is at bit.ly/HYFF 2026. We really want to see the community pull through. Lots of fun things are happening at the same time. I think the D line is open. So if you're going to ride the D, you might as well ride it all the way to Honor Your Feelings Fest. Do a little stop, get some free resources, free goodie bags. We have lots of great workshops. We're starting with a beautiful morning meditation from Walk Good LA. We're going in and, there'll be another art therapy workshop from EJ Liao. And we have a lot of other really fun workshops, a Bollywood somatic dance workshop, which is really exciting from Anita Maji. I'm trying to list them all off the top of my head. All the full program is on, of course, the website and also on our Instagram. So check it out. Send it to someone who'd like to check it out. There's lots of fun lunch places in the middle. So if you're like, hey, you can do a little Mother's Day lunch in the area, and then check out Honor Your Feelings Fest. Again, it's going to be a great time. It's such an important period of time where we're able to exist in a place where we're able to have these sorts of festivals and celebrations and conversations around mental health. And we acknowledge that there's a lot of work we still have yet to do. But I think the very first step and the very most important part is to do the work within ourselves. And that starts with just honoring our feelings, acknowledging where we're at, and upholding or holding ourselves with the gentleness and care that we all really deserve. And that's basically it. We hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in to Honor Your Feelings Quest. We so appreciate it. And I'm gonna end the live stream. How do I do that? Let's try it. Thanks, everybody.